Some people are starting to think that Coach Prime and Colorado are receiving too much hype. I'll talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? I'm your host, Kevin Borba. This is Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. We got you covered on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, and of course, YouTube. We appreciate you guys following along. Today, we're talking Deion Sanders and Colorado, Coach Prime, excuse me. Colorado being overhyped. Some analysts are saying so, even with all the spring game hype and success, and they're starting to shoot them down. And then we're also going to talk about who's coming for the spring game, because I was just writing about it yesterday, and that list is ginormous, and I think you guys should know who's going to be there, what to expect. And then I also will conclude today's episode talking about what a successful spring game will be for the Buffs. But before I do, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Okay, let's us get started. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we are approaching Colorado and college football spring games in general. And we already know that Colorado spring game is the only spring game to be televised by ESPN on their main ESPN channel. The only other program across the country that will have their spring game televised by ESPN on ESPN2 is the back-to-back defending champion Georgia Bulldogs. So that's pretty insane to think about, because the Buffs have yet to play a game with Coach Prime, and their brand is already skyrocketed so much that they will be the only program in the country that will not have their that's going to be on ESPN and not have their spring game on like the Pac-12 network or ACC network or streaming, for example, on ESPN Plus or something. So huge ups for Coach Prime and the Buffs. I think that just shows you how much excitement there is around the program. But one person in particular is he's not buying into the hype. 24/7 Sports analyst Will Backus, he recently wrote some expecting about the recent expectation for the Colorado Buffs to be kind of in the top 25 area region, which I talked about a couple days ago. Go check that out. And he began to break down a few teams that he believes are overhyped or underhyped. And unfortunately for Colorado fans, the Buffs came in to the overhyped margin of his article, and he is not feeling all of the buzz around Boulder. This is verbatim what he said. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Deion Sanders was a fantastic hire, and he's already getting the attention of some elite talent, but he is also inheriting a complete mess. Discounting the COVID-19 year, Colorado has just one winning season since joining the Pac-12 over a decade ago. While Sanders' top 25 prospect transfer class could plug some holes immediately, Colorado still probably has the worst roster in the whole conference. Yet there are some major pundits that have included the Buffaloes in their way too early top 25 predictions. As things stand, Colorado is a little more than a paper tiger at this point. With his charisma and ability to recruit, Sanders has all of the tools to rebuild Colorado, but making a bowl in year one would be overachieving. Wow. Okay. So that criticism that escalated quickly, as they say. Obviously, Colorado hasn't had the most success in the Pac-12 just recently. That's the reason Coach Prime is here. So, I mean, stating the reason why a coach is here is, I mean, as a knock against him is kind of, I guess we all know why Coach Prime is here. It's no surprise why Coach Prime is in Boulder. It's no surprise that Colorado hasn't been historically successful, especially lately. Otherwise, Carl Durrell would still be at the helm, and Coach Prime would probably be on the sidelines of Cincinnati or USF or something, because those were the schools that were in the mix for him. But moving on, we're going to break this down by section. So obviously they haven't had a lot of success recently. I mean, that's the whole point of hiring a new coach. He did sign a top 25 transfer class, and Backus's company, 24/7 Sports, actually ranked as the best transfer class. So let's not forget that. besides plug holes immediately, I think that majority of the starters will be transfers. Off the top of my head, quarterback, running back, all of the receivers will be transfers likely, except for one maybe. And this is starters. They do have a couple of receivers that can contribute, but they're not going to be starting, in my opinion. I think the whole offensive line, outside of one person, transfers. Tight end transfer, defensive line, all of them except maybe one or two transfers. Linebackers, probably all transfers. Secondary, transfer, recruit, transfer. Yeah. So when he says transfers will fill holes, he's acting like there's like four transfers that are not. He's acting like there's four transfers that are going to come in and kind of, oh well, yeah, maybe Travis Hunter can get us some valuable snaps here at corner. Deion Sanders will get us some valuable snaps at quarterback. No, like this team is made up of transfers. Think of USC's roster from last year. Same thing, same style of roster construction. Colorado still probably has the worst roster in the whole conference. Okay, I'll tell you right now, as someone who covers Stanford as well. Let me fix my screen a little bit here. Okay, as someone who covers Stanford as well, I'm not saying that Stanford's roster is terrible, but they return the least amount of production out of all Power 5 schools, and they only return more production than two programs in the entire country. So something to think about. Another thing, Cal lost a lot of talent, which they weren't even that great of a team last year. They lost all their quarterbacks. Their starting quarterback is going to be someone who was a backup for Max Duggan the past 2 years and has like 4 games of experience. They lost their best receiver. And so I think, like I said, I talked about this. What day is it? It is Wednesday. I think I talked about this Monday or Friday. If you know, comment below. People are wanting to start to hate on the Buffs. I think, like I said, the Buffs are starting to generate a lot of hype. Oh, there you go. My name thing was just in my face over here. My chair is not high enough. The Buffs are starting to generate a ton of hype, and people are getting upset and are not upset, but I think people want to be the one to be like, they're not going to be good. And you guys can come back to this when I said, because everybody wants that I told you so moment. A lot of sports takes have turned into I told you so moments, like whether it's like the Warriors aren't going to win the championship last year and they did. And so everybody's like, I told you so. It's like, congrats. You picked a team with two of the best shooters of all time and then 3 all-stars on it to win the championship. Like, congrats, stuff like that. I picked like USC. I knew Caleb Williams was going to be good. But I wasn't like, I told you so. He's going to win the Heisman because, I mean, we all knew he was going to be really good. And so I think a lot of people are wanting to kind of get ahead of the Colorado hype and be like, it's not for real. And then as soon as Colorado begins to struggle next season, because there is going to be a stretch where they struggle, I would imagine. I'm not saying this team's a juggernaut, but this team has a lot of holes that they need to fill in. And so not shocking. They're going to struggle. Every team will next season. There's not going to be a single team that's just flying through the season looking dandy. But yeah, I think this is another case of someone wanting to kind of shoot down and kind of get ahead of Colorado to basically, when they do struggle, go back to his article or tweet or whatever it was and be like, I told you this already. And so I think this is what this is, because it is very harsh. Because he was talking about RJ Young's top 25. And RJ Young he's a very, very great personality. He is not shy about having bold takes, to say the least. Moving on to the part where he says Colorado is a little more than paper tiger. With his charisma and ability to recruit, Sanders has all the tools to rebuild Colorado, but making a bowl in year one would be overachieving. I think year one bowl game is the perfect expectation. They have winnable games. They have a tough schedule, but they have winnable games. And I think people just need to kind of realize that while they did go 1-11 last year, he brought in over 40 new players. And he's going to try to make those guys work the best they can. And so we'll just have to wait and see who's right about the Buffs. But one thing we do know is that it's the midway point of the NBA season. It's here and now, and it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money line to point scores and threes drained. Today, I haven't looked at the bets. I know I should be. Let's pull one up. I think the Lakers play the. I'm a Lakers guy, so I'm gonna just go with my Lakers over the Rockets. Here, we got Clippers -2.5 over the Warriors at home. Um, and the Warriors are without Andrew Wiggins, Gary Payton, Jonathan Kuminga, Andre Iguodala. So take the Clippers to cover. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a bigger chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That is FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay. Now I'm going to be talking to you about this overhyped spring game. No, I think Colorado and Coach Prime are using the spring game as anyone should. Most spring games are, I don't say tough to watch. They get not tough to watch, but you don't learn much. You don't have the whole roster there. They've only been, especially when you have a new team like this, they're only going to be practicing in the system for about a month, if that. So expectations should not be set off the spring game, but using the spring game, which will be on ESPN, has a record attendance, more attendees than the last 7 games combined, and those 7 games were free. Yes, recruits, a lot of people in attendance, ESPN televising, national spotlight on it. You have to use this as a recruiting tactic, and that's exactly what Coach Prime is doing. I wrote about it yesterday over on Athlon, which you guys should go check out because me and John will have some great coverage on Colorado and everything in between. So I wanted you guys to know who is all coming because I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, there's a lot of good talent coming. There's a lot of good talent," but they're not saying who. So I have a running list, and I actually need to update it because I saw one more person at like midnight last night confirm that they will be a part of it. So let me pull his name up to start with because he's the only one not on the list. Jaden Riddell, the number 1 tight end in the class, 4-star. He's considering Georgia, Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Oregon. He will also be making a trip to Colorado for the spring game. But here are the people that have confirmed and the people that I have seen. I'm sure there's more out there, and I will continue to find them. Up first, Dylan Stewart, the 5-star edge out of DC. In the mix for him, Ohio State, Bama, Michigan. Number 28 player in the country, according to 24/7. Number 1 player in the country, according to On3. Williams Nowerney, 5-star defensive lineman out of Missouri, the 9th player in the country. Colin Simmons, 5-star edge rusher out of Texas, number 4 player in the country. Alabama, Texas, USC, all vying for his services. Cameron Davis, 5-star running back, Florida State commit. Class of 2020. All these guys have been 2024 so far. Number 27 player in the country from Georgia. Obviously, Florida State has his pledge currently. Stacey Gage, who John talked about with you guys last week over from IMG, 163rd recruit in the nation, 4-star running back, Miami, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Jordan Seaton, a huge offensive lineman, an offensive lineman from Washington, D.C. is where I was going to say, but I kind of flipped those things. Number 41 player in the country, number 1 ranked interior offensive lineman. All the Florida schools want him. Then you have Tevis Metcalf, is a 3-star athlete related to DK Metcalf. He'll be in attendance. LaMason Waller, 4-star athlete out of California. Michigan State, Washington want him. DeAndre Robinson, 4-star. Another defense lineman, 4-star. Class rank 263. Florida is in his recruitment. Cincinnati, Florida State. And then you got Kylan Fox, one of the most highly sought after recruits in the country, has over 60 offers. Tight end is his projection. He also could play defensive line if they need him to. Top 215 player. Xavier Atkins, LSU commit, ranked 233rd. He's from Texas. Arkansas and LSU want him. Kyan McDonald, defensive back, 4-star. Everybody wants this guy on the West Coast. Cal, Michigan. I mean, Michigan's not the West Coast, but Cal, Washington, all the West Coast schools. 4-star Colorado commit, Jawan Johnson, Obviously, the Buffs, he was one of Coach Prime's biggest additions early. Jordan Johnson-Rubel, another four-star defensive back out of Texas. Winston Watkins, the five-star receiver out of Florida, who yesterday said that if Coach Prime is at Colorado, that's where he's gone. And he has been the Buffs' lone 2025 pledge so far. Younger brother, Sammy Watkins. But yeah, a lot of big names. There's going to be more. This is a huge deal for Coach Prime. And honestly, this is, I don't want to overstate this because I'm not trying to make a bold take here. This spring game could be one of the most important moments of Coach Prime's tenure in this first year, or one of the most important moments of the first year of his tenure. Excuse me. And let me tell you why. You have the attention of the national media. Like everybody will be watching Colorado, whether you're a fan of Alabama, Texas, whatever it may be. It's on ESPN. Sports fans will be watching, especially the sports fans who miss football, because the only football fix you can get right now is the USFL or the XFL, whatever's going on. I think it's the XFL, the Rocks League. Get your football fix. Coach Prime is one of the most polarizing figures in all of college football. And if you're telling me that he's not going to draw some eyes, I want whatever you're on. How do I say this too? Here's the thing. All the recruits that aren't going to be there, that decided to not make the trip for some reason, they're going to wish they were there, and they're going to have what we call FOMO, fear of missing out, and they're going to be scheduling visits to Colorado. It wouldn't surprise me if more recruits want to schedule visits to Colorado as time goes on, because they want to be a part of this. They want to kind of see what this movement is. And so obviously if they don't go, they're going to attract more. And then the ones there, they're going to have a great time, and they're going to tell more people about it. And Colorado's going to get in the mix for them, even if they weren't already. And so it's going to be a huge deal. Which is why I also wanted to break it up and kind of tell you what a successful spring game would be like. So before I do, I need you guys to go grab your brackets and go listen to the Locked On College Basketball Breakdown with national analysis and the insights from our local experts. The Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown has everything you need to make the most informed decisions on your bracket. Find the episode on Locked On College Basketball wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. I'm pretty sure if you guys go on Spotify, let me confirm real quick on my Spotify. Let's see. If you go on Spotify, there's a bonus episode called the NC Tournament Bracket Breakdown. Who cuts down the nets? That is, you guys can listen to that over on Locked On Buff Spotify or Apple podcast, wherever you get your podcast. That'll be on there on all of our channels. Go check it out on mine, though. Of course, gotta give me some love. But here's the thing. Back to the spring game. I already talked to you. I think I just took a few minutes to list who was going to be there. But let me tell you what a successful spring game is for Coach Sanders, Coach Prime, and Colorado. Because I think I named 16 players, 16 recruits that are coming. There's probably going to be over 20, if not more. There's going to be, we'll say, rough estimation, 25, 30 recruits in attendance. You're not going to land 10 of them that day. You're not. It's just not going to happen. If it did, Coach Prime is going to go down as one of the best recruiters ever. Like that would be insane. 10 recruits in a day would be crazy. This isn't NCAA 14 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. You land, say, 2 of them, 2 notable ones. You flip someone, you land another one. Huge day. Because 1 shows you they love their visit, shows you they loved what they're a part of. It's still gonna be a little brisk in April. So a lot of these guys from Florida, Texas, California, they're gonna be there. They're gonna love their experience, and even with the cold, they're gonna be fine with it. Because Coach Prime is just that exciting to play for. The defensive staff, Sal Sinceri, the new defensive line coach. Sorry, there was like someone on my window, a little weird over there. Sal Sinceri, the new defensive line coach, Charles Kelly, our defensive coordinator from Alabama. They know how to recruit. They've recruited Josh Sweat, Will Anderson, Jalen Ramsey. Between the 2 of them, they know how to recruit. They got some big chops, and so these guys are gonna be enticed to play there. Colorado, say you land 2 or 3. 1, that bolsters your classes immediately. 2, you're bringing more attention to the program. A lot of the visits for some of these guys, Colorado, the way their spring game falls is, I believe, one of the last spring games of that little, I don't know if it's the last spring game in general, but it is um, one of the later spring games compared to most of the other programs. And so what you get is they're fresh in your Colorado's fresh in their head. And so when they go home and they go back to school, because there's going to be an approaching period where I believe the dead period approaches pretty soon, after the spring. Um, there's going to be some time where they just are sitting there thinking about Colorado football, Coach Prime, Sean Lewis's offense, Charles Kelly's defense, playing with Shadur Sanders, playing with Travis Hunter. And these guys are just going to want to be in Boulder. The spring game is going to be used as a major platform to generate more interest in Colorado. And it's a brilliant idea. And honestly, if Colorado doesn't walk away with at least 2 to 3 recruits commits, I'd be stunned. I think that'd be just how Coach Prime wants to cap it off. And I think he has the personality and the charisma to kind of get those results. And so if I had to make a bold prediction for the spring game, one, I think a record amount of viewers for a spring game on ESPN. I think it's going to happen. Like, I'm calling for maybe more viewers than like a notable game this past season. Like, I'm not saying like Ohio State, Michigan, but I think it'll be like a top 15 most viewed thing. Two, I think because of all of the hype and all of the hoopla and all of the the publicity, I think Colorado gets a couple commits. That's a perfect scenario for Coach Prime. Bring in a bunch of talent, land a couple of them, and then continue to hit the recruiting trail extremely hard after. What better way to do it? It doesn't get better than that. But yeah, I think the spring game is going to have some major potential, which is why I don't see. Like, I understand why people are saying Colorado overhyped. I personally disagree. I think the hype is like the national championship that's overhyped. I don't think they're winning a natty this year. I feel like that's just it could happen. I'm not saying it won't, because anything could happen. But let's just not realistic. Making a bowl game though, I feel like that is right in the realm of possibility for Colorado, and I think they they can realistically do that. And the more eyes they get on the program, the better. And I think having all of the spotlight that they do on this spring game will really will pay dividends for Coach Prime and the Buffs moving forward. And so I look forward to seeing what will happen. I plan on being in attendance, so I hope to see some of you guys at the spring game. So yeah, let's maybe chat it up a little bit. And before you guys go, I want to thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out a brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Experts Isaac Shad and Andy Patton bring you everything you need to know on and off the court, plus hear from big-name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Buffs, we are available Spotify. Make sure to check us out Spotify, Apple. If you don't want to see me, you just want to hear me. But yeah, check us out Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends. I would like to see that number continue to grow. You guys are doing great, and I love the support that I've gotten already. And I would love to see that number grow even more. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you again for following us here on Locked On Buffs. Again, get us wherever you get your podcasts. Go check me out over on Athlon or on my Twitter down here. And you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay tuned. We will have a very great interview with John Garcia and a quarterback recruit coming up this week. And so we have a lot of great things scheduled, a lot of great things on the docket. You don't want to miss it. This is Locked On Buffs. I'm Kevin Bohr. Thank you guys.